Estate Talk with host Marianne Johnfin, the Real Estate Lady, the best source for all your real estate needs. Real Estate Talk is aired on the big station, Q95 FM, every Tuesday morning from 10:15 a.m. to 10:45 a.m. Real Estate Talk is talking primarily on all things real estate, commercial and residential. We talk about the real estate market. We talk about the market conditions for buying and selling. We talk about choosing a professional real estate agent. We talk about financing your purchase and finding the right property. We engage the experts with specific roles in the process of buying and selling real estate. Real Estate Talk every Tuesday on Q95 FM from 10:15 a.m. with host Marianne Johnfin. Real Estate Talk with host Marianne Johnfin, the Real Estate Lady, the best source for all your real estate needs. Real Estate Talk is aired on the big station, Q95 FM, every Tuesday morning from 10:15 a.m. to 10:45 a.m. Real Estate Talk is talking primarily on all things real estate, commercial and residential. We talk about the real estate market. We talk about the market conditions for buying and selling. We talk about choosing a professional real estate agent. We talk about financing your purchase and finding the right property. We engage the experts with specific roles in the process of buying and selling real estate. Real Estate Talk every Tuesday on Q95 FM from 10:15 a.m. with host Marianne Johnfin.
Good morning, and welcome to another edition of Real Estate Talk. I'm your host, Marianne Johnfin, the Real Estate Lady, the best source for all your real estate needs. Real Estate Talk, we continue to talk on all things real estate, commercial and residential. Everything you and I do involves and affects our real estate privately and nationally. The recent disastrous weather, climate change we experienced over the past couple of years have forced us and government to take a critical look at how we engage our real estate, the land, Dominica, real estate, and the National Land Use Plan and the National Physical Development Plan is our topic today. We will discuss this when we come back, so stay tuned.
You continues to transform personal financial services in Dominica, helping you accomplish your long or short-term financial goals. It's your financial solution to increasing your assets, pursuing successful career opportunities with mortgage loans, vehicle or land purchase, debt consolidation, loans to further education, medical or domestic expenses, not forgetting our now for now or quick cash loans. Accomplish your goals, realize your dreams. Visit any NCCU branch today and get your loan solution advantage.
When you want
Welcome back, and this is Real Estate Talk. National Land Use Plan and the National Physical Development Plan is our topic today. And with me in studio is Mr. Kenneth Green. Mr. Green, welcome to Real Estate Talk.
Welcome. Thank you, Marianne. Thank you for having me here.
Okay. It's a pleasure to have you, sir. What is your involvement with the National Land Use and the National Physical Development Plan?
Okay, I'd just like to correct you a little bit. It's the National Land Use Policy and the National Physical Development Plan.
Okay. And
I was appointed as a consultant for the marketing communication, something what they call a PEX, and that stands for the Public Education and Communication Strategy. So basically, what it means is that the advocacy and trying to get the public involved through communication and education rests on my shoulders in terms of helping people understand what is going on. And we started with a show on DBS, I think a few weeks ago, and we're restarting onto the other radio stations. This week will be, I think, going on to Kyrie and also on Q95 and going into GIS, and it will be an ongoing campaign.
Okay. And how is that going? How are we receiving you, or the information that you're giving us?
Well, first of all, I'm not a policy maker. The policy making rests, or that part of the discussion rests with Annie Edwards and the chief planner, Mr. Rowe.
Right.
And the consultants who drafted and executed the land use policy is a company called Dillon Consultants from Canada. And the consultant is Rory Baksh. And I have to mention that this actual entire program has been funded by the government of Dominica and the Caribbean Development Bank. So in terms of reception, it's been over a year now. We've been doing workshops. There have been public and private stakeholder sessions, and there's also been public sessions in Roseau, in Marigot, and in Portsmouth. And in some cases, the attendance was disappointing in terms of the level of public involvement. We had a number of bulletin announcements announcing the meetings, etc. But I would say that though the attendance hasn't been exactly what we'd want in terms of the public sessions, the debate and the discussions were very, very active. In other words, we may not have as much quantity, but there was a lot of quality. And the public and private sector stakeholder meetings were also well attended.
They were. What is the difference between the National Land Use Policy and the National Physical Development Plan? What's the difference?
The land use policy is a framework. It basically starts off by having people explain to themselves and to future generations what they consider important as a priority. So it is a framework. The National Physical Development Plan takes that framework and executes it into a legal structure that governs how we behave in terms of building and development planning and infrastructure planning. So again, one is the theory and the other is the practice.
Okay, let's take a quick break, and we will continue our discussion when we come back.
Okay, thanks.
Stay tuned, and we'll be right back. You're listening to Real Estate Talk, National Land Use Policy and the National Physical Development Plan is our topic this morning with Mr. Kenneth Green. Stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
The NCCU continues to transform personal financial services in Dominica, helping you accomplish your long or short-term financial goals. It's your financial solution to increasing your assets, pursuing successful career opportunities with mortgage loans, vehicle or land purchase, debt consolidation, loans to further education, medical or domestic expenses, not forgetting our now for now or quick cash loans. Accomplish your goals, realize your dreams. Visit any NCCU branch today and get your loan solution advantage.
Time to sleep, darling.
Dad, are there any monsters under the bed?
Not while I'm here. You're safe and sound.
Feeling cared for, protected, and secure. It's a feeling that every Massey United Insurance customer knows. After all, they're in the same safe hands, protected by our financial strength, stability, and experience, and cared for by our team. Now, all our customers are even more secure with the sound strength of Massey. It's a great feeling. Massey United Insurance. To learn more, contact our agents, JV Charles and Company Limited at 448-2876, CAM Dupini Inc. at 448-3012, and LA Dupini and Company Limited at 448-2310.
Castaways Development Limited residential lots for sale at only $10 per square feet. Average size 8,000 square feet. All infrastructures available. Most lots with awesome ocean view. Just a minute walk away from the black, silky, sandy beach of Miro, one of Dominica's most beautiful and popular beaches. Castaways Development Limited residential lots available. Contact Marianne Johnfin at 225-2121. Email mjohnfin@gmail.com. Website diamondrealtyde.com.
And welcome back. This is Real Estate Talk with Marianne Johnfin, the real estate lady, the best source for all your real estate needs. And I have with me Mr. Kenneth Green. He is the public education and communication strategy consultant for the National Land Use Policy and the National Physical Development Plan. Mr. Green, why a National Land Use Policy and a National Physical Development Plan? Why is there a need for that?
Well, the easiest answer is that there's always a need for structure. Without structure, there's chaos.
There is.
And when there is chaos, nothing happens properly. One of the things that I always emphasize is that Dominica is a very young country, and there's often complaints about things not being done right. But if you look at more sophisticated cultures where they have long-standing infrastructure planning, it came from years and years, in some cases even centuries of
planning.
Well, actually, not necessarily planning, of mistakes being made first and then being corrected.
Okay.
We have the benefit of now being able to look at what people have done and to be able to improve on it. And if you look at the history of Dominica, you'll find that Dominica came from a colonial plantation culture where the assumption was that there was incredible planning. Well, the entire plan of Dominica, as most of the Caribbean existed and functioned around the operation of the plantations and not much else.
Nothing else.
So since independence, we basically on a boat on our own, trying to
figure it out.
So
trial and error.
Exactly. So we've actually accomplished quite a bit. As a nation in terms of doing planning. That's through successive governments, but there's still a long way to go. And that's why you need policies and plans to be able to govern exactly how we want to see the country being developed and essentially how we have a vision of ourselves.
Okay. I would also like to take the opportunity to invite callers who have a question for you in regards to these policy and the plans for the land use. So if you have a question that you'd like to ask Mr. Green, feel free to call 449-3095 or 449-3096 and place your question that you may have. What are some of the fundamental changes that we will be seeing?
I'm not sure if you could call it fundamental, but I mean, there is a need for zoning.
Zoning, okay.
And again, I want to caution that I am not a policymaker.
Okay.
I'm talking about my knowledge based on my interaction with the program and the policymakers. So during the rest of the week and over the next few months, we will be in the public domain and the policymakers will be there to explain that in more detail. But I think the zoning, disaster mitigation, there's a very interesting website, charim.net, charim.net. I encourage listeners to go to that website. It's good for researchers, it's good for developers, it's good for students. Basically what it is a risk mitigation and disaster map website, which was done in collaboration, I believe, with the Dutch, the EU and the Dutch, with specific Caribbean countries, including Dominica. And in there, it has maps that basically indicate priority areas, the best areas for development, the best areas for development and urban planning, etc., based on the risk profiles of the island. So that is one. Also, the physical planning website is an extremely good resource,
Yes.
physicalplanning.gov.dm. It's one of the better planning websites in the Caribbean, and I encourage people to go to it as well. But going back to your question,
Right.
the key areas are, as I said, zoning, in other words, understanding what areas of the island would be best suited for preserving a farming infrastructure, given the need for a level of food security.
Okay.
And also doing things like hotel and other infrastructure development, because people coming from off island to do development naturally assume that there is an infrastructure in place for those things and would actually prefer to do the right thing rather than be put in a mess.
Right.
And then there's also, of course, the need to look at our coastal infrastructure and also our urban planning. Yeah.
Okay, I have walked. You say you are the consultant, and you go to the public PA, public announcement or public information giving. But I would like to take this opportunity to invite the physical planning, because I've gone to them. I've gone to even as much as the minister. To ask him to invite him to this show, because I think what they are doing is beautiful, and I think if someone is buying real estate or has real estate, they need to know the guidelines in order to preserve their real estate, to enhance the value of the real estate, and to make it get the best out of their real estate.
But
so I would like to invite them publicly again.
But Marian, I'm here.
I know you are here, but some of the things that I would like to go
I know.
more in the action. For example, when building a road, when you're doing a subdivision, what is it that is required? When you're building a house, how many feet from your boundaries? How to do the septic tank? The house. All of that. When I understand now when you're building selling a portion of land, even if you have a title. To subdivide it, you'd still need to get an approval from the physical.
Correct.
All of that, it's in that.
I'm sure physical planning will eventually end up spending some time with you, and the reason I'm here is because I see your program as being an important advocate for
what is happening,
for what is going on. So it's baby steps.
I know it's baby steps.
I mean, the overall thing is that, I mean, you're part of a communication chain that's going to keep on going, and I
want it to be.
And it's all good what's happening now, and I think over time, as you build your reputation for being even more informative, more people will be attracted to come on.
Okay. And I want to thank you for that, and I look forward to working with all sector of government in giving the information, so that, as I said, we will engage our real estate in a way that it will bring value to it, not devalue what we have.
Well, I first of all, I'm not government, but what I will tell you is that the wider this section of views that you get, not just government, but every possible segment of the community, it's better. I think you've had Mr. Baptiste on, haven't you?
I had Mr. Baptiste.
Mr. Baptiste is a mine of information. He's done a previous plan for Roseau.
Yes, we talk about
and
that.
he attended the sessions. He's a very wise guy.
He is,
and he has also he has experience of the planning infrastructure. He sat on the planning board, etc. So yes, again, you're saying that you haven't had much involvement, but you've gotten some heavy hitters already. So.
Well, I want it from the government, because Mr. Baptiste is in private. He's in a private business he's doing now. Though he had been the director or the management at the physical planning. So I really look forward to working with the government and every sector in giving the information that's necessary for the development of real estate in Dominica.
Cool.
So I wanted to ask again to you, so the goal of the national land use policy is again?
the National Land Use Policy, which, by the way, has been ratified by Cabinet. And it's on the actual, I think it's right now, it's on the physical planning website.
Okay,
That's
yes.
physicalplanning.gov.dm. As I said, it's a framework to establish what is important to us. So basically what it says is, these are the things that we consider a priority. We consider it a priority not to build by the rivers, for example. If that is the case, then it's stated in the policy. We say, okay, it's a priority for us not to lessen the amount of sewage dumping in the oceans, etc. Then that's included in the National Land Use Policy. I'm not saying that is, I'm just saying as examples. And then the National Physical Development Plan then creates the infrastructure by law for the Physical Planning Development Division to enforce and to guard the ethos that's been described in the National Land Use Policy.
So to bring it down to the man on the street, the National Land Use Policy is a guideline.
Yes, correct.
And the National Physical Development Plan enforces that guideline or uses that guideline to move forward with...
Both. It uses that guideline to move forward with the infrastructure planning and the guarding the actual country's planning development and enforcing it.
Okay, so this plan have been the policy have been implemented. It has been passed through cabinet.
Yes, correct. The policy. What happened was that we did some advocacy around the island, as I said, and moved around. We got feedback from people, and I think there's still a chance for people to give even further feedback or commentary on it. But we've had quite a number of sessions on it. I think the biggest thing is, and the biggest challenge for people is to explain that planning and vision documents that necessarily point to what we intend to do or want to do don't necessarily become useless because they are pointing forward and not doing it right away. I think you need to be able to plan. It's one of the weaknesses of the Caribbean, and Dominica's included, that we kind of say, let's just do it. And forget about the fact that you have to actually put a plan in place before you decide what you're going to do. It seems kind of passé. It seems like a waste of time sometimes, but it's actually good for you to plan and engage as many people as possible, because when the physical development plan goes into law, that's it. It's in stasis, and generally you tend to find that it then becomes the legal framework that everyone has to abide with. Not generally, it then becomes the legal framework that everyone has to work with, and it's something like that spans every sector of society, and it is. I mean, it spans governments.
It is life.
Yes,
you plan your work and you work your plan.
Yeah, good stuff.
You know, if you don't work, if you have it in your head and you know nobody knows about your plan, so plan it, put it on paper, and look at it, and then work it.
Correct.
So that we don't have a messy confusion. You know, one of the worst thing or the most ugliest thing is a house that's built without a plan.
Correct.
I saw one. It's just amazing.
I can imagine, and I think especially one of the things that we're going to be doing is engaging the diaspora, because there's a high degree of absentee ownership.
Oh yes.
And many of those people, you know, trust someone locally to be able to do the right thing for them. Well, I'd encourage people to get more involved in understanding the laws and understanding what planning permissions are needed, etc. Because as part of the diaspora, you are part of the extension of the ownership of the country. I mean, the theme for the entire campaign for the public education is My Land, Your Land. Essentially, the entire country belongs to us, and there's a chain effect of when you have 10 people doing the right thing and 2 people doing the wrong thing, those 2 people can impact those 10 people.
Exactly.
So if everyone is at least trying to do the right thing, and in generally Dominicans both here and abroad, when they understand what the impact is and what they need to do, they do the right thing.
I agree with the slogan. I like the slogan, My Land, Your Land, because I can build $1 million property right next to a shack.
Yes.
Or let us say my house was there before, but you bought the land next door. and you decide, I'm going to just put up something there, and then maybe put some 2 pigs and something in that area. Now, my property that was worth $1 million just recently, because of that, of your coming in your land and do what you want in your land, it affects my land.
We're not disconnected. That's
We're
what
not
I'm saying.
disconnected.
I mean, when I always give that story. You know, when I grew up in Goodwill in Solomon Lane.
Yes.
And Solomon Lane, in the middle of Goodwill, had a pigsty between Solomon Lane and Princess Lane.
Wow.
Those people who don't remember that or don't know that, probably not old enough. But but that's reality. There was,
Yes.
and in those days, most people, as an aside, most people, even in Goodwill, what I call urban rural, they had fowls in their backyard
Right.
and stuff. Now people would frown on that because you are trying to actually get a bit better at doing planning. So it's showing that we are actually getting better. It's just that people don't recognize it because they don't have context.
With the implementation, you said it has been approved by government, the cabinet, and it's been implemented. How are we receiving the new policy and the new plan for the use of our land? I have a call on the line. Let me take that. Good morning, caller, and welcome to Real Estate Talk. Can you please state your question?
Yeah, thank you very much for taking my call. I've been trying a long time.
Okay, go ahead. State your question, sir. Hello. Good morning. I guess we lost that caller. Say that again. Hello, good morning. Welcome to Real Estate Talk. Are you there, caller? Hello? I guess we've lost that. So I'm sorry about that, sir. You may please call again. But Mr. Green, I was asking, how are we receiving
Well, again,
the policies and the plan?
The reception of the reception towards it is based on the communication exercise that we're doing now. All right, because there's a 2-stage process. There was the process before when it was actually being compiled, and then there was the communication sessions that happened with that, and the attendance of the people who turned up and gave feedback. And now that the policy has been drafted, now we're telling people exactly some of the things that it covers. Now, bear in mind, the policy is the framework. The actual next stage, which is the National Physical Development Plan, the new National Physical Development Plan, that is even more critical. And therefore, there is still a huge opportunity for locals to be involved in giving feedback and addressing some of the things that the National Physical Plan will be doing. Because those things are based on what the policy basically mentions as the intents for the nation.
So the feedbacks that you've been getting so far, how have you been? There's a call on the line. Let me take that call. Good morning and welcome to Real Estate Talk.
And how are you this morning?
Wonderful, sir.
It is timely.
Go ahead.
A neighbor of mine came and put down some building where his water is running right over my land. And I talked to him. I told him it's over 45 years I have my house there. I said to him, you cannot do such thing. You're supposed to build 4 feet away from the boundary. You cannot have your water running on my land. He said to me, he will give me some licks and go into court and pay for me. So it is timely. You know, I hope he is here that he could listen and move that house away from my boundaries. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, caller. I guess the National Land Use Policy and the National Physical Development Plan, that would all fall in place in terms of...
Well, I just want to
can we take this call and
yeah,
hold it? Can we take another call? Good morning, caller. It's there. Good morning, caller, and welcome to Real Estate Talk.
Yeah,
please.
Good morning.
Yes,
good program. But I want your guest to tell me what the policy has to do in relation to the average man. That's question number 1. And number 2, if the caller is a communications expert and they have failed to attract the public to be involved. How can you go forward with a policy where the majority of the persons that matter have not been involved? Has there been a white paper? For example, sir, I would be happy to attend one of your sessions. I live on the West Coast. I have never heard of any such meeting anywhere in the West Coast. You mentioned Marigot and Roseau. You mentioned the private sector. I don't know who's the private sector. You mentioned the public sector. These are government civil servants that sit there. That's what they do. But we, the people, we have a right. And thanks to this program, that I always listen to this real estate program, which is a good program, that they've brought you on. And we don't know about that. So, again, I agree with you that when a policy is developed, then law complements it, and that's it. But then the people will always be ignorant of the facts because they were not involved. We have to go in and live in the 22nd century. We do not think the civil servants who sit down around a table with you and have snacks and lunch, and the other persons you talk about, could talk for the majority of people. We have never heard this thing on the West Coast. When are you going to come to the West Coast, sir? Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for your question. When are you going to be more on the ground in terms of,
let me just
as he says?
Let me take the first question. First. He said, what does it do with the average man? Well, the caller before kind of outlines what it does for the average man.
Yes.
Because it impacts every facet of our life. So with that being said, on his next question, there was quite a bit of actual notices on the radio, and there was stuff in the newspaper, and there was stuff online. But I understand that his concern that somehow the train has passed and he's not gotten on board. Well, the train is coming back around, and that's what I'm trying to emphasize, in that we will be going back and having advocacy sessions. And the fact that that he hasn't been involved in the first wave of the discussions does not mean that his views cannot be taken into consideration. With regards to the policy, I think it's unfortunate that he says that the civil servants who attended the meetings, or the public sector stakeholders who cover things like forestry, etc., basically are not necessarily important stakeholders. I'd like to disavow that view, and I'll tell you why. If we look at forestry, and I like to use forestry as a good example, forestry is what we call a success story in terms of how policy can engage people, because it's been over 25 to 30 years that we've established for ourselves that we know that there's a national forestry reserve, which is one of the best kept in the region and is a model. We also know, I mean, for those of us who grew up doing things that now we've stopped doing, like even eating turtle, etc., that's because there's been an ongoing communication exercise that hasn't been over one period. It has lasted for years and years. So the public sector stakeholders are important, because the public sector stakeholders span governments. People stay, governments change, but those civil servants remain, and they're the people who guard. They are the ones who guard the policies and the plans that are being instituted. So they being in the sessions are extremely important, because they tend to be the biggest critics, and they're the ones who can say, hey, look, this can't work, because on the ground, when I go to the communities, this is not relevant. So they're very, very important.
I think everybody is important.
Oh yes, everybody. I mean,
even our children, because the way that they treat our real estate by throwing away garbage anyhow, they should be, even from school.
Well, yes, that is part of that's part of the communication exercise going forward. The fact that we're going to go on social media as well is extremely critical, because again, as I mentioned, the diaspora, many of them are joint landowners. They're the ones who want to retire in Dominica. They've got things to do that have an impact on the infrastructure of the island. So,
Mr. Green, we have a call. We want to take that call. I mean, our time is running out, so caller, please make it quickly. I guess, Mr. Green, you might have to come back again. So, good morning to Real Estate Talk.
Yes,
please pose your question quickly.
Yes, good morning. I just probably a comment. In a lot of our developments in and around the city, when that happens, I see a lot of the trees being cut down. But there's no evidence, even in places like California, where they are now tallying the number of trees they have, and they're giving it an equivalent dollar value. For example, in California, it is stated that there's about 9.1 million trees, and that they actually give it an annual value of $1 billion. In the land use plan and probably in the whole development process, I would like to see us take on board the values or the value of trees in development areas. I live in an area, and I recently saw a development, and most of the trees there were cut down. Palm trees that are 40, 50 years old were cut down. And I think Mr. Green is a green, and he should probably be routing for green. But there's a real dollar value in terms of trees being able to store carbon dioxide, trap airborne pollutants, it intercepts rainfall, and it also raises the prices of property. So I think in that policy development, we must take on the importance of trees in development areas.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your question. You agree because you are Mr. Green.
No, I mean, as I said, I'm not a policymaker, but in my private capacity, I will say I agree 1,000,000% with the caller. I think it's critical that urban development includes the trees, the importance of trees in the society, and let's remember this. Many of the other countries who have gone along their development path are almost in an irreversible concrete jungle. We have the opportunity still to be able to shape things going forward and to be able to incorporate nature into our urban development plans.
The persons that you've engaged, the average man, are they getting the point? Are we seeing it? Are we visiting the physical planning more, or what?
The average Dominican person that came to the sessions and the people that you engage are pretty, how do you put it? They're pretty vocal about the entire need.
Negatively or positively or balanced?
No, I think in general, people are. The guy who called earlier on is a classic case of, unfortunately, what happens in terms of how we engage with these topics is that we look at personal circumstances, and it's good that he's bringing it forward. And one of the things that the physical planning division are trying to do is to get people to actually come in when there are cases like this, rather than staying and arguing amongst yourselves.
Right.
That one of the parties, if not both, or a neighbor, goes to the physical planning division and gets them involved, because you need to be able to understand what are the right things and the wrong things to do. That's how you end disputes.
So you are as if I can hear you now, you're saying if someone has a dispute, they can go to the physical plan to get an advice based on the laws in terms of building and stuff like that.
Correct. That's what the physical planning division are there for. If there are mistakes made previously, they'll also be able to sort it out. I'm not saying that they're the panacea for everything, but one of the things that people don't know is that the physical planning division are pretty much open to helping people to understand what they should be doing when they're building and planning to build, etc. And it's better to do that and engage them rather than be caught in a perpetual struggle with your neighbor.
Your land, my land.
Exactly.
C'est pas témoin.
Exactly.
It's our Dominica, and we have to do what we need to do in order to preserve her. because or when we were growing up, we boast, we go out there and we boast of our Dominican. When sometimes when we come back, but gee, where do we even know? You understand?
It's very true.
You've seen it and it hits you. There's a certain place that I pass, and when I see a garbage, I turn my head because I can't stand that people are there and they would throw garbage at that. I have many times stop and pick up the garbage. Because I see what is going on. The garbage is going to run into the water, and it's a place where people get water. You go through the water, and then it goes down to the river and then to the ocean. One guy said to me, just wonder if I can say that. One guy says to me, when I see him throw a garbage, sakani desana en live here, ike desana en lamia. Me dit moi c'est ça c'est ça ou parler, c'est live ou parler aller en lamia parce que c'est tortilla, c'est buté ça. Ike affecté yo.
That's true. I mean, the thing about it, just quickly, because I know you have to end, is that what we want to try and promote, especially, is people actually taking up the gauntlet and going into the bodies responsible.
Okay.
It's one thing if you've engaged, say, environmental health or forestry or physical plant division, and you've engaged them time and time again and they've not helped.
It's one thing.
But it's another thing to simply complain in public or complain to yourself without actually taking steps and engaging the people who are actually paid by our tax dollars to do those kind of things.
So there's no more excuse.
It's not about
no more. I'm saying we are giving you the real estate talk. Is we are here to talk, to give you information, to educate you. So we're trying. I'm trying mine, and that's why I'm engaging everybody so that the information can get through. Because when I develop my land properly, you develop your land properly, there'll be no more high-end neighborhood or low-end neighborhood. Everybody, your property value I can have a property in Center Roma and one in Casa Bruce, and the value can be similar. Because
I can't honestly, Marion, I can't say that will happen. There will always be different types of neighborhoods and different infrastructure depending.
But they're not a big scale.
No,
okay?
what I would say is that there should be always uniform standards of the things that matter to us. For example, sewage, roads, etc. Those things are national rights. They don't belong to one neighborhood or the other. In terms of the value of communities, I can't predicate that.
Mr. Green, it is really an interesting topic. I really appreciate having you here today. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Anytime that you want to do it again, please let me know.
Okay, no problem.
This has been another program, another real estate talk. Thank you so much for being with me. I hope to continue to engage all parties, everybody in real estate and the real estate development, our land. And should you need my service, I'm a real estate agent and I love selling. My website is diamondrealtyda.com and my telephone number is 225-2121. So until next time, be blessed.
Castaways Development Limited residential lots for sale at only $10 per square feet. Average size 8,000 square feet. All infrastructures available. Most lots with awesome ocean view. Just a minute walk